Alrighty. We're going to go ahead and get started with our special programming tonight. I'm thrilled to welcome Joe Duhonick, editor-in-chief of the Purdue Exponent, to our meeting. As we all know, the Purdue Exponent is the #1 multimedia news agency independent of the university, serving Purdue students, faculty, staff, and the greater West Lafayette community via a printed newspaper, web, and social media. The Exponent, published by the not-for-profit, there we go, Purdue Student Publishing Foundation, is primarily a student operation, with students publishing the newspaper and online editions and working in advertising. All student staff members receive stipends for their work. Exponent alumni include politicians, physicians, lawyers, judges, professors, advertising executives, business leaders, scientists, military pilots, commercial pilots, engineers, and of course, journalists. Exponent alumni have won 6 Pulitzer Prizes, an Oscar nomination, 6 Emmys, 2 Peabodys, and 2 John Chancellor Awards for a lifetime achievement in journalism, without the benefit of a journalism school here at Purdue. They have also had 2 alumni become U.S. ambassadors and 1 presidential cabinet member. The Exponent was established on December 15th, 1889. Joe, thank you so much for joining us tonight, and with that, I'll go ahead and let you take over. I don't know if you want this, or we also have a handheld mic. It's up to you.
Figure this out. Is this good? Can you all hear me? Yeah? Okay, cool. Hi everyone. Thanks Olivia for the introduction. My name's Joe. Like she said, editor-in-chief of the Exponent. Usually I'm listening to other people talk and not doing so much talking myself, so I'll try not to drone on too much, but thank you for having me here. I want to talk a little bit about how the newspaper industry in general is shifting. Ooh, I can see it there too. Nice. So in the past 10, 15, even 20 years, but specifically in the past, 5, 6, 7, 8, there's been a lot more distrust in the media than ever before. You didn't really see that so much in the 20th century. Newspapers were a lot more well respected. They also had a lot larger staffs. They had a lot larger outreach. But especially with, the last few years of politics and maybe something to do with our last president, the media is not really trusted as much now. So that's kind of a uphill battle that we're all fighting against in the industry. Some are taking it better than others. Revenue changes are impacting a lot of places. Staffs are decreasing in size. Newspapers are printing less often. They're printing less physical papers, so a smaller circulation. Chicago Tribune, for example, their investigative team has only 4 people left. The Journal and Courier, the biggest local paper in the area here, they have only 6 members when they've had, over 100 in the past. So a lot of newsrooms are shifting. We're losing a lot of revenue as an industry. And you're seeing a response to that as a lot more newspapers are being bought up by larger media conglomerates. So Gannett Publishing, USA Today, they own the Journal and Courier and a lot of other local papers across the country. The Exponent is fully independent from the university, and we are one of the, I believe, only 20 college newspapers in the entire country that are fully independent from the university, so we don't get any funding from them or anything like that. But even past student newspapers, even in professional newspapers around the world, fewer and fewer are actually independent. A lot of that has to do with a larger emphasis on online than print papers. Print ads are going to make you a lot more money than an online ad is, so when everyone wants online, no one wants print anymore. All of a sudden, that's a lot less advertising revenue for the entire industry. Like I said, we are fully independent from the university, so all of our revenue comes from our own sources. A lot of it is from ads. A lot of it is from outside jobs that we print. We actually own our own press. We're one of the 2 college newspapers in the country that own our own press. The other one is Harvard's paper. I forget the name of their newspaper, but obviously they own their own press. They're Harvard. Like I said, in the past, almost or more than 90% of our revenue came from ads. Now it's down to 28. So we're looking at revenue in a lot of different ways. Like I said, we print a lot of different papers. We print some high school papers, some other local papers down south. We used to print daily. We used to be 5 days a week. We're now down to only twice a week. That changed in 2017. We print about 9,000 papers every Monday and every Thursday, which go to Purdue, West Lafayette. But even though our print is going down, our online presence is going way up. So like it says right here, when we first started our website, we had 20,000 unique website visits last year we had 20 million. So I think that's pretty impressive just in terms of how many people now are going to that different source. To reach that online source, since obviously we have a lot more of a larger audience online now than we did in the past, social media is really important. So there it kind of breaks down our readership base, and of course all those are kind of ebb and flow. Those aren't really set in stone, but those are mainly the groups that we see on those different platforms. We do have a Snapchat. I don't think it's been active since about 2017. I don't know the password for it, but before I graduate, I'm going to figure it out, and I'm going to send y'all a Snapchat from the Exponent account because I don't know why else we made it. Social media is a really great tool. Obviously, you all know that. I mean, would I be correct in assuming that most of y'all get your news online, on Twitter, on Facebook, rather than in print? Is that for the most part? Right, okay. I like still to read print sometimes, especially when I'm reading really big stories, but in general, we're all online now. That allows us to connect more with our audience really quickly. I mean, instead of waiting once a week to publish letters to the editor, which we still do, by the way, we have people replying to us on Facebook and Twitter, within minutes of posting stories. A lot of it is really cool. A lot of it actually gives us story ideas. It gives us news tips. It can give us a gauge of what our audience responds to, what they like, what they don't like. It also can hurt our self-esteem a lot when people are really mean to us on Facebook, but that happens. I don't know if y'all saw super quick. We ran a story about Matt Painter, and all the Facebook comments said, Matt Painter should be fired. He's terrible. He sucks. And then 2 weeks later, we ran a letter to the editor saying Matt Painter should be fired, and everyone said, the Exponent is trash for printing this. We should never fire Matt Painter. And then the week after that, we ran another letter saying we shouldn't fire Painter, and the first Twitter comment was, no, we should fire Painter. So we do our best. I mean, not everyone's going to approve of our sports takes, I guess, even though letters to the editor are not our takes, but whatever. That's only a small part of what we publish. We do publish opinion pieces. We'll publish editorials, which are the weight of our entire senior staff. We'll publish individual columns that other editors or reporters will write. But for the most part, it's actual news coverage. So it's deadline news, features, profiles on specific people and events, event coverage, event previews. That counts for sports and meetings like this. Investigative stories, kind of in-depth feature stories. Those come not quite as often. Those take a lot more time, a lot more resources, I guess more skill level, right? It's not something you can do in your first or second year of journalism. It takes you a while to build up to that a little bit. In terms of what we actually do and don't publish and how we decide that, a lot of it is just based on what is happening on campus and what people are talking about. So if everyone is talking about a specific issue, we have to, we got to acknowledge that somehow, whether we're covering it in a different way, and that all depends on the circumstances, but we're mostly covering things that are happening in the community, that people are talking about in the community. Our reporters are, students just like everyone else here, so they have a good gauge of what's going on. Our editors are trained to look in the right places. We can, we have online jail logs, and we have sources where we can look up court documents, and we can look up meeting proceedings and find the agenda to some meeting that we can't even go to, So a lot of that is where we get our ideas too. We do see a lot of stuff on social media. Facebook is a great tool. I've learned that recently. I actually got a Facebook just because of how useful it is in journalism. We get a lot of story tips from our readers. We haven't really in the past. That's something we're seeing a lot more in the past few years, that people are engaging with us more, that they're wanting us to cover things more. Where in the past they'd go to a JNC or a WLFI or the WBA radio. Now they're coming to us with a lot of those things, and we're breaking a lot of stories now because of that. So I think that's really cool. Here are just some examples of some of the stories that we've done. They were particularly impactful to the Purdue community. A lot of these topics aren't really easy to cover or read about, but they're things that are important for our readers to know, that I believe we've done a really good job representing, covering fairly, covering accurately, covering honestly, and covering in good time. We don't like to publish just the sad stuff, right? We don't like to only, be talking about controversy. We like to talk about some more funny things too. So here are some of the headlines that have gotten us some laughs, some memes made about us or about the people in the stories. The Chick-fil-A story is a lot funnier than it actually sounds. There's a lot to it. You should go read it. But yeah, so there's that kind of stuff. More about us in general. You typically have 11 senior staff members each semester. That kind of fluctuates based on who we have to fill what role. But you can see the different positions we've had here, and again, those kind of change. We've morphed graphics and photos together at times. We've we change things a lot. It's just how we do it. Right now we have about 45 staff members. That's kind of the breakdown between the different roles. Staff members put in a wide variety of work hours depending on how busy the week is, depending on what they're doing, depending on their role. Me and some of my other higher level editors were working, anywhere from 40 to 65 hours a week, depending on what exactly is going on. It's been a little bit slower the past few weeks, which I enjoy, so don't make any controversial decisions for the next few weeks. Let us chill for a bit. And obviously, the reason that we're here and the reason that journalists are important to the community, we want to educate and inform people. We want to be able to reach people that maybe don't have the education that we have here and break down issues in a way that is accessible to everyone, right? We're not just writing for educated college students. We're writing for the community members, everybody, people that work for Purdue that maybe didn't, obviously, we want to find the truth. That's really important. We want to hold people accountable. We want to hold power accountable. We want to make sure that power isn't corrupting, which, as we all know, it very often does, which is why our role is so important here. And we want to be a mouthpiece and a voice for everyone in the community, which is something that you all obviously want to do too, which is why you're here. So I think that's a really good, comparison between us. We both want to speak for the people of this school. So that's about all I had. Like I said, I don't want to talk for too long, but I do want to let y'all ask any questions that you have about the paper, about me, about how we can work more together, any random thoughts you've had about weird stories we've ran in the past. Anyone? Yeah.
Yeah, thanks for coming out. I had a quick question since I don't know too much about it. So say like some big controversy happens tomorrow. Mm-hmm. What's the timeline for you as high up on the staff and maybe someone farther down on the staff? Do you try and get it out by the next issue and like kind of put whatever was going to be on the front page to the side? Or kind of what is that timeline for you? Yeah,
that's a good question. We are trying to shift to a more online focus, and we have been for the past few years. If there's big news we're printing tonight, so our paper's going to come out tomorrow morning. If there's big news that happens like tomorrow at 5:30, we're off of work by then, right? We work 9 to 4. We're back on work. We're going, we're reporting, we're doing whatever we can. We're hopefully getting that story up the same night. Now, a freshman reporter, maybe I'm not going to ask them to stop doing their homework and stuff late on a night. Maybe I'm going to rely on my editors that are putting in more hours and getting paid more to do it, quite frankly. So I wouldn't necessarily, that depends though. I wouldn't say never. But typically if something happens like that where it's past the work week or it's not something where we're all together in the office, myself or one of my news editors will step up and kind of handle that. But in terms of timeline, no, we do try to get things up as soon as possible. Being right is better than being first, obviously, so we aren't necessarily rushing ourselves, but we're, kind of have a fire behind us because we want to tell all of you as soon as things happen, Does that answer your question?
Yeah, definitely. Thank you.
Cool, yeah. Yeah?
So I know, can you hear me? I'm sorry.
Yeah,
I don't know if it's working.
Yeah.
So I know over the past year and a half or so, there's been a couple of issues with the Exponent where journalists have felt their personal opinions are being censored based off of them having published articles about a certain topic and then talking about it on their own personal social media or within groups, and then receiving backlash from the Exponent. Can you talk about some changes that have been made to help reduce incidents of basically personal censorship?
Yeah, absolutely. That is a really complex issue that a lot of newspapers are facing around the world. And in short, the answer is this, that we as a newspaper are a force that looks for the truth and looks for what is right and wrong and covers things fairly. And we do not want to push a particular bias one way or the other, right? We don't want to represent issues in a way that we're saying we agree with this or we disagree with this. We want to tell the people what is going on, allow them to make decisions for themselves based on that. That poses the issue of, well, as a journalist, if I'm reporting on this issue and then I go and put my opinion about it on Twitter, then are people going to read my story and not take me seriously because they already know what I really feel? And they're not going to believe that what I'm writing is fair and accurate because I have this other bias. Obviously, if you go on Twitter and you tweet racism is bad, we're not going to punish you for that. There are certain things that are right and there are certain things that are wrong. No one's going to punish you for saying that children shouldn't be abused. There are other things that are a bit more controversial and more, unfortunately, politically charged that we ask people not to speak on because we don't want to hurt our own credibility and put any distrust in our audience, whether they agree with us or not, right? That's not really our position to say. Our position is to let people know what is happening, let them come to those conclusions. Does that make sense?
Just as a follow-up, I
Yeah.
guess who makes that rule then of what is appropriate for a journalist to be able to comment on in their personal social media versus what is considered too politically charged or controversial?
Typically, that would come from me and my managing editor, essentially. Those kind of decisions are made by whoever is the highest up, and ultimately responsibility falls on me. I am the representative of the exponent. I speak for the exponent. So those decisions are typically made by me and my managing editor. Those aren't really hard and fast rules. I wouldn't really call it a rule because it is so kind of flexible and it is circumstantial. But yeah, those decisions are mostly made by the higher editors. Yeah. Yes.
Can you think back to like what is the most interesting or like story that like sticks out to you the most?
I have a few, but I'll give you. Okay, so the first big like investigative story I did, I was a freshman in my second semester. I was assistant sports editor, and I wrote a story about Ernie Hall. Does anyone here know who Ernie Hall is? All right, anybody know who Lamar Lundy is? Yeah, okay, cool. Ernie Hall was the first black basketball player at Purdue. Lamar Lundy is the person that ESPN and a lot of other national news outlets refer to as the first black basketball player at Purdue. He played almost 10 years later. Ernie Hall played in 1951 for 9 games before he was arrested for a crime that he was later acquitted of. He was kicked off the team immediately, wasn't let back on the team, wasn't allowed to live on campus, lived in what was at the time a very, very rough part of Lafayette. He went to Lafayette Jeff. I ended up, I was doing a story about the first black athletes at Purdue for Black History Month, and I found Ernie Hall's name, and I realized that no one had really talked about him ever. I didn't really know what happened. So I ended up, going all over Lafayette, going to courthouses and police stations and going through the historical associations and looking up old newspaper clippings and old court records and old police documents. I actually found some of his old teammates to talk about him and how he was as a person and who he was on the team. The issue was there was a lot of different stories. There were 3 stories written about why he was arrested. All 3 of them were different. One of them was from the Exponent, one of them was from the Journal and Courier, one of them was from a paper in Ventura County, California, because he played there in junior college before he came to Purdue. All 3 of them had vastly different stories, so I knew something was wrong. And essentially I kind of dug into the mystery of, okay, what actually happened? Why actually was he kicked off the team? Why wasn't he given a second chance even after he was acquitted? It answered a lot of questions. It raised a lot more, but it was really interesting. I ended up winning an award for it at the Indiana Collegiate Press Association. But I'd say that was probably the most interesting story I've done. It was definitely one of the most fun. And I was brand new to the city, so I was wandering around, going to places I had no idea where they were, and it was a little scary. But yeah, that was cool. That was a long answer, but yeah, that was a really fun story, right? Yes? Yeah, so we've talked about that a lot, and we are on a news app. There's an app called Spotlight News that will pull from Newsbreak, from The Exponent, from a lot of other local papers, and it will kind of put it all together and just spit news out at you. So if you have Spotlight News, you can see Exponent stories through there. We've considered having an app of our own. We've tried having an app of our own. The problem is if you have an app, you have to have someone who can develop it, and then you have to have someone who can update it all the time. And just the way that a student newspaper operates, we have an almost completely different staff every semester because people are coming in, people are coming out, people are graduating, and having people with the ability to develop web apps is not really a common thing in a newspaper. So we haven't really had people that can consistently do that, which is why we kind of had to drop that idea, because right now no one on our staff knows how to develop an app, and we can't afford to pay someone outside of the Exponent to do so. So that's the honest answer where we are with that. It'd be cool, but we'd have to see. Yeah.
So I just had a question about how y'all get information about the people specifically that you're like interviewing or something. So I know a lot of times, like probably a lot of us have been like approached by people at the Exponent and just like asked like for your name, year, major, and whatnot.
Right.
If someone doesn't give you that information, how do you go about like collecting that information to report on it? Because I've encountered a few scenarios where either the article that you've written either has something just like not there, which is fine. I've also had times where things are incorrect, and I've had times where like the exponent has misgender transgender students. I don't know if you have any way of going about how y'all collect that information and go about publishing it.
So you're talking specifically about finding people's names?
Name, like just like personal information, kind of like
Yeah.
names, what pronouns to use when you're talking about that person, what they said, maybe
Right.
like what they're studying and that kind of stuff. Because I've seen like things that don't align with what that actual person, either their gender or what they're actually studying.
Yeah, no, I understand that. So, I mean, if we're covering an event and say we have a photo of you and we didn't get your name or we're trying to figure out who this person is, we'll look at other photos from the organization that you're a part of. We'll try to find your name that way. We'll try to look at the roster and compare, okay, I remember what he looked like. That was that sort of thing. Obviously, that is not infallible, and we do make mistakes from time to time that we try our best to correct. I can think of one instance in which we misgendered someone, which was really, I felt really bad about. In terms of like asking people for pronouns and stuff like that, that is something that we have never really pushed. That's something that I have been trying to encourage more as we kind of become more socially aware. I don't think that that's ever been like a rule that when you ask for your name and your college major, that's not something that we've mentioned. That's something that I've been trying to mention here and there. Obviously, those mistakes happen, and we regret them. We do our best to correct them whenever they happen. I don't know. I lost my train of thought there. Yeah, but does that answer your question?
Yeah.
Okay. Cool. Yes.
Sort of to build off Senator Silver's question, when there happens to be a mistake in the exponent, I know all of us have been the exponent for the Senate things. I've been misquoted, and obviously it's been innocent. If there is a substantial mistake within the exponent that affects people, what is the best way to go about getting that correction if needed?
Best way to go about getting a correction?
Yes.
Calling me, or just going on our website, calling my direct extension in my office. That's the best way. I can fix those things immediately. Yeah.
Thank you.
And that, yeah, go for it. And that is, obviously mistakes in a newspaper are a big deal, and they're not something that we just kind of push off and move past. We are a group of students that are learning at various different levels. A lot of our reporters are people that have never written anything in their lives before, you know what I mean? And me being here for a few years and being more experienced in this, and this is, my career now, I do want to take that upon myself to try to teach people and try to train people and get them better at that. It comes with time. People make mistakes, and we do our best to fix them. Should we try our best to make less? Yes. Did you have another question? Yeah.
I guess mine's sort of a follow-up. Is there any type of I guess a quality control person to check statistics and numbers that you guys print? For example, the exponent printed that no one had ran for the College of Ed, but here we are, both re-ran, both got elected, but now no one in our college is going to know that unless they're on the Zoom. That's just an example. But even that information was sent out to all the undergraduate student body via the PSG email. Mm-hmm. So I guess who checks stuff like that to make sure that the names and the data being published is correct?
Yeah, I mean, we have, so our typical system is we will have 2 edits come from desk editors, which is what I had on the screen earlier. Either you're a news editor, a campus editor, a managing editor, and we'll typically have 1 or 2 people from those areas edit that, and then we'll have copy editors and a copy chief edit that. Typically on print cycles, we have a lot more people looking at stories than if a story is just going up online at night. We'll have less people available, So in terms of how many people are checking it, that varies a lot. We always do edit ourselves, and like I said, some mistakes do slip through the cracks, and that's why we appreciate whenever y'all contact us and let us know so we can correct that. We can, fix it for the future. So there's not always the same person who's always going to edit every single thing. It just depends on who is available at a given time and what time of the day it is, if we're printing or not. Yeah.
What's the best way to contact y'all if we want something, if we notice something that y'all had a mistake on?
Call me. Call my office phone number. It's on our website. 765-743-1111, extension 207. Joe Duhowny. What's up?
What would you say is the distribution of major
it's pretty representative of Purdue as a whole. I mean, we have a lot of engineering students, a lot of STEM majors, a lot of business majors. We do have some communication majors, some liberal arts majors. It's not all just comm kids. It's not all liberal arts kids. You don't have to be in comm to be a reporter, to be an intelligent news gatherer, to be a good designer or artist or copy editor. So I'd say it is pretty evenly distributed based on Purdue's demographics. Yeah.
So Purdue is, like you said, like very, like we tend to think of the exponent as something like liberal arts comm.
Yeah.
So how do you guys go about empowering students who are like STEM majors to be
Mhm.
involved in something that they would perceive more liberal arts?
Right. Well, I mean, journalism writing is a very different form of writing than anything else. You're not going to write it like you would an essay or like a research paper or like a poem or a story, right? It's a lot different and it's very unique, and you don't necessarily have to have the background in, English composition and poetry writing, creative writing to be able to write for a newspaper, right? If you're a STEM kid and your mind is like, what are the numbers, what are the facts, what is the data analytics of this, that is the type of reporting you can do. And we kind of want to keep that open where you can do different types of reporting based on what you are comfortable with, But the main thing we do is just say, hey, like, no matter what you study at Purdue, you have an equal opportunity to be good as a journalist, because a lot of the skills really aren't transferable from any class you can take here. A lot of the skills are things that you're going to learn in the field, doing things, making a crap ton of mistakes as you go, learning from it, getting good at it over the course of a few years. It's not something where you can take a few classes and then know how to do it. Yeah.
Looking forward, what is your vision for the type of editor or potential writer that you want to become? And also, what do you think is the future for the Exponent? Obviously, you said more online, but what does that mean?
Yeah. In terms of myself, I have learned a lot from the Exponent. One of the things I've learned is that I don't want to be people's boss anymore in my future career. And that is not a slight at anyone at the Exponent. That is just my own personal preference. I like to be doing my own thing and not worrying about 80 other people, So for me, I want to go into investigative reporting. I want to talk about social justice and humanitarian things. Some of the larger stories I've covered are, I did a series on homelessness, and I did a series on meth addiction in Tippecanoe County. I did a bunch of stories on racism within the athletics department 2 years ago. So those are kind of my niches. In terms of where I want the Exponent to go, I think that in the past 5 or 6 years, we have shifted to now where we are the main source of news for the entire county, right? We're getting more readership than the Journal and Courier. We're getting more viewership than WLFI. We're becoming that main source of news. Now we have to adapt more to what the news is becoming. So we need to focus more on online content, more video content, more interactive things, not just, okay, here's a story on the website, but, can we create multimedia? Can we edit things properly? That sort of stuff. I want to be a lot more online focused. I want to be able to do more live streaming of certain events if we can, that sort of stuff. Print is really good, and print is really, really nice, and it makes us a lot of ad money. But as the industry shifts and as people start to realize that online is the way to go, I can see us not printing anymore 10 years from now. I don't know, you know what I mean? But I think that's where it's headed, and that's where I hope it heads.
Thank you.
Yeah. Anyone have any other questions? Cool. All right. Well, thanks for having me. This was really fun.
I don't know about you guys, I certainly learned something about the Exponent from that, and I think all Purdue students should be really grateful that we have, an independent source of media. I think that's really special. Let me go ahead and pull up Shindig. Alrighty. Hello and welcome at 7:47. I will now call this meeting to order. We'll first get started with our introduction of visitors. We can go ahead and skip that. Joe, I believe you're the only visitor here with us this evening. Now moving on to proxy reports. Do we have any proxies? Yeah, go ahead.
My name is Avery Mann, and I'm proxying for Julia Perello for the College of Education.
Yeah.
My name is Martina McCabe, and I'm proxying for Mason Michael for College of Engineering.
Thank you. Is it Martina?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
My name is Brooklyn Abshire. I'm proxying for Iana Degesman, College of Science.
Any other proxies this evening? Seeing no more proxy reports, we'll go ahead and have Secretary Huang do our roll call.
Hi, I'm gonna do roll call now. If you're here, please say here. Veronica?
Here.
Nate?
Here.
Lily?
Here.
Joshua? Joshua?
He's excused.
Okay. Sydney?
Here.
Carly?
Here.
Hadley?
Here.
Evan?
Here.
Eleanor?
Here.
Cameron?
Here.
Garrett?
Here.
Mohammed? Isabel?
Here.
Sam?
Here.
Michael?
Here.
Andrew?
Here.
Adam?
Here.
Matthew Thomas?
Here.
Lynn Silver?
Here.
Claire?
Here.
Ishida?
Here.
Sophie?
Here.
And Matthew Stockler. Thank you.
Thank you, Vivian. Now moving on to our land acknowledgement. Purdue student government acknowledges the traditional homelands of the indigenous people upon which Purdue was built. We honor and appreciate the Potawatomi, Delaware, Miami, and Shawnee people who are the original indigenous caretakers of the land. Senators, please rise for the Pledge of Purpose. Our purpose is to be the voice of the Purdue student body, serve the needs of students in all university matters, and provide leadership that stimulates initiative, inspires excellence, and exemplifies professionalism. And above all, hail Purdue. You guys are seeming a little bit lackluster. Let's get excited, okay? The minutes for the last meeting were distributed to you all via the Google Drive. Are there any corrections to the minutes? Seeing no corrections, the minutes are approved as distributed. Now moving on to our executive report. President Kang, I believe you're on the Zoom. Do you have any reports? No? She's not. Okay, just kidding. I'll go ahead and share mine. After 3 months of it going back and forth between University Senate and the Educational Policy Committee, 2059, which is our dead week policy, is finally going to University Senate. So I'm incredibly excited about that. Yes, thank you. I'm so excited. But it was an initiative that was started last year. That really kind of lost steam throughout the start of this year. There was a lot of pushback from faculty, but I'm excited for it to finally be brought to the floor for a full vote. And also, I'm sorry, I know I said this last meeting about transition documents, but I've had a lot of exams. It's been a week. So you will get information this evening in the Slack about transition documents. And I believe that's all from me. Any other executive reports? Yeah.
Oh. Okay. Sorry, I picked the mic that didn't work. Well, nice to be back in Senate. It's been a while. Nice to see everybody. Congratulations to everybody that is now elected to be back for senatorial positions in the future. Also, thank you for allowing us to participate in the polling locations. That was, I mean, from my end, it was a blast to be able to do that and to watch people interact. And at the end of the day, I think PSG and the awareness of everybody being around on campus is out more than it probably has been in a while, and I think that's a plus. Sometimes there's good press, sometimes there's bad press, but at the end of the day, there's the argument that any press is good press. And I would agree utmost with that for senatorial positions. Updates from our end, we have a few more big initiatives coming through. I'm here to speak about the Korean vegan bill on behalf of Shannon, so I've been trying to catch up and get some notes together. I'll do the best I can. Just as an update, like I'm not here to persuade or convince everybody to vote for it. I'm going to put my 2 cents out there and think why This is kind of in the bounds of what I think lines up with our president's initiative and mission that they ran on. But we can get to that more later. BOD is kind of focusing on transition documents for EDs. That's a big issue. Like, brain trust is just historically really hard to get through to the next group. So we're trying to put a little bit more emphasis on that. We have a cultural block party this Friday, which is becoming more and more concerning by the minute because the rain chance keeps going up and up and up. So I'm scrambling right now trying to figure out what I can do about that. But I will keep you all updated, and I heavily encourage you to come. It's going to be a really, really great event. Currently, we have 17 partnering organizations. They're all pitching in their own way. And I think it's a great chance to showcase and celebrate the diversity that is at Purdue in a lot of these different orgs as well, and just truthfully throughout the undergraduate student body. We will have our closing banquet, which I think Olivia and the programming committee are working on together for that. And besides that, there's a few small things going on here and there. The BOD spreadsheet is public knowledge, so if you'd like to take a look, feel free to go through that. But that's all from my end.
Yeah. Thank you. Any other executive reports? Yeah.
I'll save the big overall stats wrap-up of Senate duties for the last session, but if you haven't finished your Senate duties, get that done. You have 2 weeks to do it. Senate Survival Day is being put on by, as in our Constitution, or in our governing docs somewhere, the pro temp and the Senate leaders have to run that, so we're planning it for next Wednesday at 7 p.m. We're gonna do some like Senate survival tips and write the joke legislation for the last session. So that's my update.
You said at 7 p.m.?
Yes.
Okay. Awesome. Any other executive reports? Seeing none, we'll move into committee reports, internal affairs.
Yeah, so IA is currently finishing up our transition documents and getting the Senate standing rule updates kind of to be discussed for next semester, as a lot of us are continuing on as senators. Additionally, I just want to kind of put it out there, we're getting close to the end of the year, and I just want to make sure that everyone is still keeping up on our governing documents and holding yourself as well as others accountable to make sure that we're following those to the best of our abilities. I know a lot of the times towards the end of the year we can kind of let things slide or forget about those, and I just want to make sure we all draw our attentions back to them.
Awesome. Thank you, Senator Ferguson. Senator Dodona with Financial Affairs.
Yeah, so FA has been moving full ahead with our grant program. We actually have our last day that we're going to be reviewing it. It's going to be on the 18th, that Monday, presuming we get through all the applications that have been in. We have gotten so many applications the last couple of weeks in school, which has been awesome. Idealistically, hopefully we'll be able to give away all of our budget. I think that's what we're currently looking at. I have to clarify on where those numbers are at, but that's currently the plan. Additionally, we'll have the stipend bills up for the last meeting of this session prepared, so that goes through, as well as we reviewed the Korean vegan bill that we're going to look at tonight.
Awesome. Thank you, Senator Dodona. CSRA?
No big updates, but we did write the blue lights legislation, so you'll see that on the floor next session.
Awesome. UAA?
Yeah, I'm filling in today. So we're working with Dr. SS to update the wording on some documents that pertain to academic probation and dismissal. Awesome. And then a second thing, we're working on a video with Jeffrey Elliott for the advisor appreciation. And we still need about, I think, 3 people to do that. So if you're interested or know somebody who might be, just let me know.
Awesome. Thank you. UA, oh wait, we just did UAA. Pride ad hoc, any updates?
We don't have any updates.
Alrighty, thank you, Senator Silver. Safer?
Yeah, so Safer is heading off into Sexual Assault Awareness Month this month, and our plan is to do our big consent tea party on April 27th, so that's about 3 weeks away. The plan is to collaborate with cultural centers as well as other organizations on campus that are focusing on sexual violence. Most likely that's going to be in Croc Lobby from 5 to 7. I'll give you the last update on that 20th. But sort of heading off the semester with that big event and wanting as much involvement, it'll take a lot of people to help run it. So if anyone wants to be involved with that event in any way, please reach out to me.
Awesome. And is that going to be like a multi-organizational kind of event?
Idealistically, we've already started reaching out to like SASE, Me Too Purdue, LGBTQ Center, other Pride ad hoc, all of those are hopefully to be involved. If you kind of, there was a safe sex fair, it's imagining something similar to that, but with the conversation around consent in all these different areas.
Cool. Awesome. And then moving on to M-Hall.
No updates at this time. We're gathering the checks from the fundraisers around Chauncey right now.
How are those looking?
Good. I'd say good. They vary, which is
Yeah.
surprising to me. But yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Awesome. Now moving into informal discussion. Do I hear any informal discussion? I have some very informal. I'm a member of Ag Week Task Force. If you've walked across Memorial Mall this week, you've probably seen a variety of strange things. Monday we had some cows and we were handing out grilled cheese. Tuesday, some tractors and some drones. Today we handed out over 1,700 burgers and had some different ag companies. Tomorrow we'll have Famous Franks, and we'll also be packing meals for food finders. It's not too late to sign up. Honestly, if you showed up tomorrow, I think we'd take you and we'd love for you to help. And those meals will be going to people in the Hoosier State and abroad. So it's a pretty cool program. And then on Friday, we'll have Farm to Fork Friday. And we're inviting all different kinds of farmers from all over the country, or all over the state. I know for sure we have a duck farmer, a mint farmer, melons, tomatoes, and there will be some free samples. And you'll get to learn where your food comes from. So strongly encourage everybody to come out. Really, we get started around 10 a.m., kind of wrap up around 3 p.m. It really varies on how we run out of stuff every single day. But happy Ag Week, and I hope you can come out Thursday or Friday. Yeah.
Just on the College of Ag is Doing Cool Things train, this Saturday is also Spring Fest from 10 to 6 p.m. There will be cricket spitting is the one thing that comes to mind right now, but a lot of free things, fun things. There's a petting zoo. So just while the College of Ag is talking about themselves for a second, come out and just kind of learn more what we're about.
Yeah.
Think about something. So I'm super excited, but this Saturday is the spring game. So you guys are looking for more fun things to do this weekend. The football team is doing like black against gold. Spring game is this weekend.
Do you know what time it is?
I think kickoff is noon, I believe. Yeah.
Cool. Definitely putting that on my calendar. Any other informal discussion? Seeing none, we'll go ahead and move on to old business. Do I hear any old business? Seeing none, we'll go ahead and move into new business. Do I hear any new business? Senator Ferguson?
Madam Chair, I move to postpone Bills 2174 and 2175 to our next regularly scheduled meeting on the 20th.
Second.
It's been properly moved and seconded to postpone definitely 2174 and 2175 to the next meeting. It's amendable, debatable, requires a majority vote. We're going to go ahead and take that by voice acclamation. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. All those opposed, same sign. Any abstentions? Okay, those have been postponed definitely. Now moving on to any other new business. Senator Chris?
Motion to bring up Resolution 2176.
It's been properly moved and seconded to bring up Resolution 2176, a resolution in support of amending the military absence policy for students. This is amendable and debatable and requires a majority vote. I can go ahead and speak a little bit on it. First and foremost, I want to thank all the senators who looked at it, who read over it, who edited it, who added something. I really love that we're kind of going out with a bang with this policy. Unfortunately, I don't think we're going to be able to get it on the University Senate docket for the end of this semester, but I can promise you I will make sure it gets on. It gets to steering committee first week of the fall semester. I will make that my personal mission. But so, this really goes off of Director Torres's presentation that she came and talked to us about updating maps so that it's just more reflective of how the experience of active duty and reserve students, it reflects the experience they actually have in terms of the timeline and in terms of the fiscal year for the military and how that aligns with our academic calendar. So with that, I'll open it up to discussion. Senator Chris?
Yeah, so my Slack totally glitched out this weekend because I thought I added myself as a sponsor to this, but apparently I didn't. So I offer a friendly add myself.
We all good on that? Okay, we'll add you to the list. Yeah.
Would it be possible to add another name to that sponsorship list? Because I definitely read over that, thought I clicked it, and I went back and it turns out I did not. So
that's perfectly fine. Yep, I got you down. I'll make sure it's edited. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I liked it, but it may have glitched. So if you would add me as a sponsor as well, yeah.
Amazing.
I stopped it after a certain time.
Oh, go ahead.
Could you also friendly amendment me as a sponsor?
I think I originally had everybody who was on the email list as an author, and it was a litany. Yeah.
Same for me.
Awesome.
Lynn, I, and Julia will be sponsored.
Amazing. Okay.
We got a combo deal here. Literally the entire Senate just sponsored.
Yeah. Yeah. Any other sponsors? Yeah.
I just want to say that as a member of the military currently, I really appreciate this because that has been a massive source of stress for me for like the past year. So just thank you.
Awesome. Yay. Great to hear it. Thank you so much. Thank you for your service as well. Any other discussion? Okay, seeing no further discussion, we'll move into a vote on Resolution 2176. All those in favor, please raise your name placards. All those opposed, same sign. Any abstentions? With that, Resolution 2176 passes unanimously. Congratulations, everybody. That was a team effort. Senator Ferguson.
Bear with me for a second, but I move to amend the agenda by adding Bill 2178, Cabinet Appointment, Deputy Chief of Staff, Epidemic Oregby.
Second.
Okay, it's been properly moved and seconded to amend our agenda to add Bill 2178. This is amendable and debatable and requires a majority vote. All those in favor, please raise your, oh wait, yeah. All of those in favor, please raise your name placards. Sorry, I have like brain fog today. All those opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, the amendment has passed, and we'll add 2178 officially to the agenda. The chair will also entertain 10-minute recess per our Constitution. Senator Dodona?
I motion we take a 10-minute recess per standing rules.
Yeah. Second?
Second.
Awesome. We'll go ahead and take that 10-minute recess. We don't need to vote on it, correct, Mr. Parliamentarian? Okay. Feel free, please look over the bill, take a second, make sure you read through it completely. Feel free to take a bathroom break, take a second. Yeah. So let's plan to be back at 8:15. Alrighty, everybody, let's go ahead and get back to our business. Everybody over there, let's get back to our business. With that, do I hear any new business at this time? Yeah, Senator Ferguson.
I move that we discuss Bill 2177, the Korean vegan.
Second.
Motioning to bring it to the floor?
Yes.
Okay. Second. So I'm probably moved and seconded to bring up Bill 2177, funding approval request for the Korean vegan. This is amendable and debatable and requires a majority vote. With that, I'll go ahead and kick it over to President Kang on the Zoom to give a little bit of background.
Yeah, so I can start us off. Actually, is Vince Rayfelt there currently?
Yes, he is.
Vince, would you be able to start me off right now? I'm trying to get my ride over to the proper location.
Could someone allocate Vince some time? Senator Ferguson?
I allocate 5 minutes to Chief of Staff.
We get the gist. Go ahead, Vince.
Newly appointed today. Okay, so truthfully, I had no idea that this was even coming until this morning. So I've done my best to catch up. I've touched base with the people that are responsible for putting on the initiative and have planned it out. And I was notified of a few bullet points that were concerning to senators and would affect how you voted today. And so I wrote those down with some points under it. And if you don't mind, I can either just field questions or I can just go through the bullet points and give my take on it. Some of it is factual and some of it is completely subjective. So what would everybody like to see?
Senator Chris.
I think you should just go through the bullet points.
Okay, so kicking it off, probably a good question first thing always is budget. So where is this coming from? The entire event is going to cost $18,000. However, the amount that is here is the difference between what is being pulled from the president's discretionary or the president's initiatives and 18,000, which leaves us with 9,500. 4,500 of that would be from the initially allocated MHOB budget, which is, there's kind of like two reasons why this is having to pass through. It's reallocating more than $2,500 for a previously allocated cause, and it's more than $2,500 coming out of a discretionary. So 4,500 of that is coming from the MHOB budget. 5,000 of it is coming from the cabinet discretionary. If you're going to ask whether or not there are sponsors for the event, I would say indirectly. We actually had a certain amount of money that was given to us from the AARC that is now being used towards the Cultural Block Party. However, they weren't giving any money for that before, and so they kind of just okayed for that to be moved to the Cultural Block Party instead of this. So solely the cost is falling upon us. What are we getting for the $1,800? You're getting a speech from the person, clearly. You're getting a cooking demonstration that's free and open to students that will provide them a meal as well at the end. That's part of this person's TikTok reputation, is it's just what they do and it's kind of how they blew up. There will be a speech at the LGBTQ+ Center, from what I'm understanding, and they'll be having just a sit-down informal lunch with students as well who want to come. There is only the event itself in person is being limited to 100 spots. Some of these will probably be filled by us. Some will probably be by the AARC, which I would say probably around 20. So we probably need to fill about 80 spots in a week. I know that a concern was not having enough time to get the word out. The cultural centers are a part of this plan with us and have kind of offered their marketing services. They were giving us stats on the amount of students that came through their spaces each day and each week. Truthfully, I think we have about 4 business days to be able to market this, and I do think that it's realistic to believe that we could get 80 students in the course of 4 days throughout the cultural centers, especially because of how important this is to some communities on our campus. I think that I don't want to say it's like a 4th of July because it's kind of like insensitive, but at the end of the day, May is AARC like Heritage Month and celebration of it. Obviously, like we don't really have a celebration month, we just have a day. But with that being in May, we aren't going to be at school. And so we wanted to be able to have an opportunity to do it before we left, which would send us into April. I think that Shannon, I would let her speak to more of this about what it means to her. But as a student body president who holds some of the identities that she does, this is important to her. This was not a rashly made choice. This was something that had been talked about for a long time throughout the year, but I know how the timing can make it look like we just have money and we're trying to toss it somewhere. That is not the case. I can guarantee you that. Once again, it's going to come up to everybody here and what they think about it and whether you think it's worth the money. But I would encourage you to probably be a little bit more cautious than to say the money can be spent somewhere else better. I think PSG has taken pride, especially over the last 3 years, of making all communities feel welcomed. The president of the university is supposed to do that, but I mean, if you look at the presidential lecture series, you would probably start realizing that's really not the case. And I think that inviting someone to campus who can be welcomed by a lot of people and representing the groups of people that typically are not in public forums at this university, I think is a big plus. And at the end of the day, if people think this is not a good thing to spend money on, I would love recommendations because we are running out of time, and I don't think it's right to spend $20,000 on a closing banquet. But truthfully, we're kind of running out of time with APFs and just the amount of time in general to be able to coordinate with the university and other departments to put on an event that's worth this much money. But that's all that is all the notes I have on the specific event. I can try and field questions. The only thing that we are paying for them for the travel costs is the cost is somewhere between $100 and $150. I don't remember the exact number, which would cover the hotel. But everything else they are paying for as they're traveling. And then the $18,000 is kind of more of just a holistic cost that needs to be covered for their services. So I'm happy to take any questions.
Yeah. And first and foremost, I want to express my apologies for any discrepancies I may have construed during caucus. Shannon, are you ready to go to discuss?
Yes, I can. So I can definitely fill in some of these the details that Vince had laid out for you guys. The itinerary is as follows. During lunch around 3:30, Joanne Molinaro, the Korean vegan, is going to head over to the ARC and she's going to do her fireside chat with students who RSVP. That RSVP is going to go around to the cultural centers, and because it's targeting Asian American and Pacific Islander Heritage Month, which is usually nationally celebrated in May, but because we are not in school in May, the ARC hosts a lot of their programming in April. When I mentioned to ARC that we were thinking of bringing the Korean vegan, Dr. Pam was ecstatic. She was so excited because she told me that she's been wanting to get the Korean vegan for years now. And and she's also having a really cool speaker named Jasmine Cho the week right before. So this is just a perfect lead up to having our really powerful female Asian speakers be on our campus. And then after that event, we're going to take her back to the hotel. She's going to get ready and we're going to head over to the Marriott Hall demonstration kitchen, which is a classroom where Chef Oyaf, which I believe the ACE Campus Food Pantry brought her over here and had a wildly successful event. The Korean vegan is going to be speaking at that same classroom and doing something similar, like a dialogue, where she'll be cooking Korean food, which I believe she'll be cooking braised tofu and crunch wrap supreme. So that'll be a kind of a Korean twist to it. And she'll be talking about probably some sort of narrative that she has prepared for us, some sort of storytelling. She's a really great storyteller because she is a lawyer. And also she is going to talk about veganism and how it relates to our Korean/American culture, Asian culture. So that's the itinerary that we have laid out for us here. And like Vincent said, $18,000 is the speaker fee, which we are paying. And then the $150 for the Marriott Hall room reservation. And then about $200 for her hotel at the Hotel Union. And that was at a discounted price due to this general Purdue cost. The importance of AAPI is that last year we saw pretty hateful things, and that has not stopped. So celebrating that on this campus as a first Asian president is extremely important to me personally, but I know how important it is for an Asian president to be advocating for this stuff on behalf of the rest of the community. A lot of the culture centers, especially the ARC, they're so excited to have this collaboration with us and really send the year. Sorry, I pressed the wrong button. But yeah, and this event is targeted at our students to make sure that they feel that their Asian voices are being heard and also being represented. Because when they come out of university, these are the students who are going to have to leave their mark on our society as Asian leaders. And if they're not empowered to do so, I don't know how we're setting them up for success. And I believe that this is a strong way to do it. So I can take any questions. I believe I can hear all of you loud and clear as long as you speak right into the mic.
Awesome. Thank you, President Kang. Senator Escunas.
So Chief of Staff Rayfelt had said that there is 100 student capacity. Is that 100 students for like the speaker series or for the cooking demo, or is that like 100 total people across everything?
That's a great question. So at Marriott Hall, I believe that some of the restrictions may have been lifted because last year when Chef Oya came, I believe that they were only allowing a little less than 100 people to be in that classroom. But that is just for the Marriott Hall demonstration kitchen. But for the Lunch and Learn series, the ARC is going to be hosting that, and they will, because it's a smaller center in a smaller area, we're going to be doing RSVP, but if the weather permits, we'll also be allowing students to mingle outside with us because they'll be having food, drinks, beverages, refreshments, etc. So I believe that in total, and if we are able to release this recording to our Purdue University only students, then this reach would be the reach is going to be much greater. And the ARC has filming capabilities. So if they are able to film the Lunch and Learn, and if we are able to borrow their camera to bring to the demonstration kitchen, then we will be able to control and make sure that if we do upload it, only Purdue students are watching it. Because this is a product that the Korean vegan sells, right? It's her content. So just allowing that to be just blown up, that shouldn't be in our control. And we're only paying 18 grand. And if we wanted that sort of huge reach where she has 3 million followers on TikTok, while we have like 3K, I think because of her name herself, it could really blow up, which would be great. But again, this event is for our to celebrate as Boilermakers AAPI Heritage Month.
Okay, so follow up. What's being done differently from the Mina Harris event to advertise this to make sure it actually gets to students? Because, the breakdown, it looks like it's going to be over $150 a head, kind of based on the cost breakdown and how few people are able to attend. So what's going to be done to make sure that the recording, if there is a recording, actually gets out to students and it's not, not a ton of money is being thrown at just a few students who get to experience this?
Right. I feel like our cultural centers are going to be the folks to lean on the most because, like I'm saying, I believe that AAPI, though it's becoming a very wide known, I guess I would say, month to celebrate. A lot of people are joining in that celebration, but I think it's mainly celebrated by those who have connections into the AAPI community. So, like I said, Dr. Pam has been really excited that to have the Korean vegan on campus. So I strongly believe that if she has a recording of it, she would not hesitate to show that to our students, the students who visit the ARC, and also to our other cultural centers as well, because the LCC is right there, attached to the ARC. So hopefully inviting some of those students to join, and then later afterwards having it as an archive for our Purdue students and saying that this was an initiative that was brought by PSG and supported by all of our cultural centers to celebrate AAPI after a month of really just a lot of hate towards Asian people, but also a month during the pandemic and non-normalcy.
Go ahead.
So that's what the cultural centers are going to do. What is PSG specifically going to do to advertise this? Because in the end, it is PSG money.
Yeah, I think Vince, you, me, everyone in this room, we know that in terms of our reach, if we have a big name on an event, so for example, like Mina Harris, it catches people's eyes. We could do, for example, for the Cultural Block Party tomorrow, I will be on Instagram Live doing promoting the event, talking about some of the events some of the organizations that will be there. So we could definitely do something similar to that and have collaborate with the ARC on that Instagram Live, so that again it's reaching the correct audience, along with our Purdue Student Government, our platform. So doing an Instagram Live collaboration, that idea again stems from the Instagram Live that I'm doing tomorrow with SAO. And then having that being a collab, having that show up on our PSG Instagram as well.
Thank you, President King. I saw yours earlier. Go ahead, Senator Cheryl.
So I know there'll probably be a lot of discussion. So I guess one of my first questions is, do we know, I was trying to think about how I wanted to phrase this because I just have a lot
We
of
can come back
thoughts
to
about it.
if you
That's
want.
okay.
Any other discussion? You can go ahead. It's okay, Sydney.
Okay, so I thought of a good one that I don't have to think about how I want to phrase. Okay. So this is going to be, obviously there's been a lot of discussion about the cultural centers because this is like the ARC event and the LGBTQ center. But if there's only 100 seats and our big thing is this is for those cultural centers for the month, does that mean the people of those cultural centers are going to have priority over the RSVPs? And then how does that work in comparison to telling the students, all the undergrad students, that we're hosting this event to raise awareness about this month for underrepresented minorities?
Shannon, I can go ahead and take this question. And Shannon and I kind of talked about this before Senate this evening, but you talk about 100, you talk about 150. Shannon also spoke to how, what this means to Dr. Pam and the students that visit the ARC. I really don't think it's, I don't want to say relevant. It is relevant, but when you're deciding between voting or not voting based on 100 students going, that this means a big deal to versus 500 students that this means a lot to. If this doesn't pass, this doesn't vote in favor, those 100 students don't get to have that experience. So I know we want to be bigger. I know we want to be, as expansive as possible, but I just wanted to highlight that point. And then also to your question about priority in terms of RSVP, it won't necessarily be like, oh, you go to the ARC this amount often, you get an automatic RSVP. It's going to be immediately advertised in cultural centers and in the ARC. So that's kind of, I guess, the way that RSVP could be not necessarily prioritized, but they could get it first, just in terms of, them seeing the link first, RSVPing first, and filling out the form. But I just kind of wanted to bring that to our attention as well. Go ahead, Senator Cho.
Yeah. Can I add something? Oh.
Yeah, go ahead,
so,
President King.
Yeah, Liv, thanks for saying that. Definitely what Liv said is not necessarily, I would say that we did the fireside chat specifically for a more intimate event so that students who are really passionate and really want to engage more at a personal level with Joanne would be able to. And because Dr. Pam and I had first had that initial conversation, we found that those students would be those students who are attending the ARC on a regular basis. Those students who study there, those students who eat there, those students have built a community there, and inviting someone as influential as the Korean vegan into their space would be so impactful for them. So really wanting to give them that opportunity, and then also adding on to the AAPI events that the ARC has been hosting this month for the past week or so now. And then for the Fowler event, exactly, the 100 is not, it's definitely, it seems like a very few seats, but I would say, like I said, a name like Joanne is going to fill those seats very quickly. And, during MHA, I think a lot of the, when we get bigger spaces and not a lot of people show up, it doesn't feel as intimate. And so, again, this is, we have a smaller Asian population on campus. So trying to get this to feel as much as a community as possible is also a plus, I think, in this case.
And I also wanted to highlight weather permitting, Indiana in April, cannot predict it. But weather permitting, we're hoping that this can be kind of an indoor-outdoor experience, and that would allow more students to attend and kind of go through the ARC as well. Go ahead, Senator Cho.
So I respect what you're saying about how to the 100 it might be like super impactful, so like we shouldn't really look at quantity, we should look at quality. But I mean, $9,500, I know like if it doesn't be used, like we've already discussed that, et cetera, but what are we gonna do? Or like, I guess what's the thought process if we end up getting all the backlash that we got last year from having a speaker come? So like, will it really, for those 100 students that may go, is it going to be impactful, or is PSG, like what happens if we get roasted? So like we try to do it again and it's still, if it's not received well for the second time, I mean, how are we gonna justify like that 18 grand in general?
Yeah, and
yeah.
Shannon, I can take this one. We discussed this in caucus as well, but quite frankly, Mina Harris was a whole different ballgame. She came with her own political connotations. She asked for, the bill that went through to, allocate that funding was way more than what we're asking for now. And I think it's an apples to oranges situation. I get what you're saying in terms of spending money on, a big speaker and being criticized for that aspect, but I think the backlash from last year isn't necessarily comparable in this case. Senator Dodona? I'm gonna go ahead and let Ellie go.
Sure.
I wanted to sort of start off by saying that I can't express how much I support the sentiments of honoring Asian Heritage Month and connecting with culture centers in this way. I guess I come about it from a perspective of someone who spends the majority of their time within Senate reviewing grant applications for things like this. And while we go about that in sort of a viewpoint neutral way, which we're not expected to do as senators, I guess it's really taught me to appreciate and understand the need for the logistical side to be fully laid out for everyone in order to have successful events and to allow for the connections that I truly believe could happen with an event like this. So I guess I have a little more logistical questions that I feel like really need to be asked in order for, at least for me, to make a good decision within this bill. So I guess my exact question is, do we have an exact breakdown of what the costs are coming from both the president's initiatives and the vice president initiative? Where are we within the APF approval? Has a contract been signed? What's the process of that? And then initially, there was a conversation about the LGBTQ Center that was not brought up within President King's timeline, and so I also wanted to get a clarification on that. Those are some of my basic logistical questions so that I can feel more comfortable having this information.
Yeah.
Yes.
Go ahead, President King.
Okay, so wait, hold on.
Yeah, you're good.
Okay, so I had about $9,000, a little less than $9,000 left in my President's Initiative account. So we're going to spend all of that plus, and then this is where it starts to get into the discretionary, which is why we have the sum that you guys see today. $5,000 will be coming out of cabinet discretionary, and then the remaining about $4,400 will be coming out of the MHA leftover money. The MHA leftover money is being treated as cabinet discretionary, so that is why we have the $9,400 being voted on today. And your second question was if the contract has been signed. So the contract has been signed. Mike and I just talked today. He said that he has sent it over to Tammy. He agreed to all of the changes that we made. Fowler was currently being, Fowler was being a little bit difficult and saying that they were not happy with someone cooking in the venue, which is why we made a quick change over to Marriott Hall. And Marriott Hall was available for us to do. And actually the LGBTQ plus center and Dr. Pam had suggested that in the get-go. And then what was your third question, Ellie?
About the APF.
Oh, the APF. Yeah. So actually they are currently they're still making edits to the one that I had submitted weeks ago. The changes that are being made on that are being commented on, but there is a APF submitted, and what Tammy, it hasn't been approved, but what Tammy had told me was I should probably go back and make a new APF. But again, because we have a contract attached to it, if all of the details are in line, that would be approved very quickly.
Senator Dodonna.
Just two follow-up questions. One I just thought was missed in the span of all questions. There was a conversation about including the LGBTQ plus cultural center in this that wasn't initially touched on within the timeline, and so I wanted to get that clarification. And then,
right.
I guess my question is, how can a contract be signed if we haven't approved the money yet? I just don't know exactly the process on that, and so I wanted to ask.
Right. Well, I didn't want us to. Okay, wait, let me go back to the LGBTQ Center first. So the LGBTQ Center partnership is just in terms of the advertising, promoting, because Joanne, I recognize that she was a really big advocate for the LGBTQ plus community, and obviously for the Asian American community as well. And as an Asian American woman, I obviously first turned to the ARC for that sponsorship. And as an LGBTQ plus member myself, I thought that reaching out to the center would be a really great way to tie it all together. So she won't be actually visiting the center. Sorry if that was a little bit confusing at first, but yeah, so the LGBTQ Center is just involved in a sponsoring sort of way.
And that's
in terms
my
of
bad.
The contract
Keep going, Shannon.
The contract being signed, so the money was there, and I know that through processes that needs to be approved by the Senate. But I don't know how it worked with Mina Harris, but Tammy didn't really seem to have any objections here. But if anyone has any more clear understanding on that.
And the miscommunication about the LGBTQ plus center is on me, so I apologize for that. Any other discussion? Senator Terrell?
So I guess just a LGBTQ center isn't getting an activity. Are they providing funding towards this, or are we basically just using them for advertising? Because if they're not getting a speech, but you know what I mean, like they don't have any financial gain, I guess I'm confused on how they even really got involved instead of just using it for advertising.
President Kennedy?
Right. Yeah, Lowell and I had conversations about this, and to my fault, I haven't really been able to follow him on funding. So he's informally and verbally committed that he would be willing to provide some funding for this, but that again wouldn't go towards the 1,800. He said that if we needed some sort of if travel expenses were to rack up, he would be willing to do so. But because travel expenses are around $200, I feel that that can solely come out of PSG. We are the LGBTQ Center is willing to join in this, and Lowell has been a part of this planning effort with me. So we aren't using them just to be like, oh, we're collaborating with the LGBTQ Center, meanwhile not offering them anything. The LGBTQ Center and the ARC are two of the groups who will be receiving that fireside chat RSVP link, sort of as like this priority, like first come. And then hopefully getting as many other students to join us as well, and those going through the channels of our other various cultural centers like the LCC, the VCC, Native American Cultural Center. I hope that makes more sense.
Senator Bowman.
Yeah, so just to clarify, like the LGBTQ Center is like willing to commit financially, and has the AARC have they also committed? I'm just for clarification.
Yes, so the ARC has committed their 2K to us, and they said that they would be willing to put that for the 1,800 that we are spending to bring Joanne. However, because we are spending another 2K on a smaller speaker who the ARC had already initially invited, but asked if they could stay for one more day for the cultural block party, that becomes a net zero. So it's been like they said, PSG will sponsor yours guys' thing. And then we said, oh, well, we'll sponsor your other contract with Jasmine Cho. So now Bozo had said we won't be transferring any more money there.
Any other discussion? Senator Price.
At the end of the day, with all facts and precedents aside, I see this as a vote to allow or not allow a speaker for Asian rights and LGBTQ plus rights to come to our school. And I don't care about the facts or precedents it was set. I will be danged if my last sessions at Senate is spent blocking a minority rights activist from coming just because it's a small amount of students. That is not what the College of Health and Human Sciences stands for, not what I stand for.
Thank you, Senator Price. Senator Ferguson?
And while I do want to partially second the sentiments that I do think that this could be a valuable and would be a valuable speaker to come to campus, I really need some clarification on the timeline of why the Senate is seeing this now. And I don't even know how to begin to express my disappointment in the decision to sign a contract without Senate approval for these funds, as we are required to allocate these funds that are over $2,500 from cabinet discretionary. When was the decision to have this speaker, when were these conversations started, and why has the Senate not heard this bill before now?
I think, yes, you haven't seen a bill. Shannon has mentioned it in her executive reports for a very long time now throughout the semester. We can easily go back in the agenda minutes, the meeting minutes, and see that. So it's not a new concept. And I definitely get your disappointment towards, signing the contract and things like that. That definitely should have been a broader discussion with the Senate at large. But unfortunately, timelines move fast, and working with Bozo and working with a marketing agent that she works with can be really difficult. And we're on a tight timeline. We're also students, also dealing with 3,000 other things at the same time. So I do apologize that fell through the cracks. You can go ahead.
Another question for clarification: if this bill is not to pass tonight, and I believe that could be a possibility with how discussion has been going, what is the plan moving forward?
Would someone like to allocate some time to, go ahead.
I allocate 30 seconds to the Chief of Staff.
I'll be quick. I am just straightforward black and white, so I'm just going to give it to you how it is from my perspective, and having signed hundreds of contracts in 3 years with people. Once it is signed and processed through Bozo from both parties, that's it, period. So it's a it's a wonky spot to be in. It's a disrespectful situation for some people to be in as well. But if you really want the cold hard truth, what's probably going to happen, even if you say no, is it's signed, it's processed, it's probably going to happen. And I know that that might be unpopular to say, but I don't feel comfortable getting up here and telling you, like, it's fine. It might not happen. You would have to have some sort of legal bounds to invalidate your signature. And typically that means you had to be under the influence or under duress, of which I don't think apply here. But yeah, that's the truth.
Senator Ferguson?
And I believed that to be the case, and I would again like to express my disappointment on the unconstitutionality of the actions of our current administration.
Thank you, Senator Ferguson. Any other discussion? Senator Terrell?
I guess I have a question. Because if we're, I mean, it doesn't matter now, apparently, because it's going to pass one way or another. So I guess if we're uncomfortable with the way that this discussion has went, but it's pointless to vote against it because it has already been signed, should people, I guess, that are kind of impassionate about it now because it doesn't matter, should we just abstain? Because, I mean, this discussion was pointless because it's going to happen one way or another, so.
Just for a quick point, when the agent and I discussed, Tammy had made this clear to me, and I'm just remembering this. What is it? Any conversation that the agent and I have is technically unofficial. I am not allowed to offer up anything and be like, okay, this is definitely this is good, and then this is good to go. And he really can't do that for me because Tammy is the one writing the contract. And so Tammy has not sent me an official copy of the contract itself. Tammy has been overwhelmed because the office person, Dee Dee Ryan, in the Bozo office, has left to go to the chem department. And so Tammy has been having to tackle on everything related to contracts in addition to all of her duties as the leader of Bozo. So it's kind of, interpret that as you will, but again, no copy has been received from my end. So I guess the confirmation came from the agent who was traveling to England while I was on the phone with him.
I'm assuming it. Is there any other discussion? Alrighty, seeing no further discussion, we'll go ahead and move into a vote. All those in favor, please raise your name placards. Really high. Can't see you. All those opposed? All those abstain? 1, 2, 3. Mr. Parliamentarian, I just want to confirm with you, 7 for 11. Is that?
7 yes, 4 no.
11 abstain.
So that vote would pass.
Okay. With a vote of 7 for 11, Bill 2177 passes.
Thank you all for the discussion. Thank you all for the vote. I will see you guys back on campus this week.
Thank you, President King. Is there any other new business? Senator Chris?
Motion to bring up Bill 2178.
Where'd it go? 1 second. It's properly moved and seconded to bring up Bill 2178, the cabinet appointment of Deputy Chief of Staff for Abademi. This is amendable and debatable and requires a majority vote. Could anybody allocate me some time to speak on behalf of Abademi? Yeah, go ahead.
Allocate 5 minutes to Vice President.
That's all right. It won't take that long. You've seen this bill before. We know Abademi. We know all the hard work he's already done and put into his role this whole entire year. But you're just now seeing this because SAO didn't approve our Constitution until earlier this week. And so now this can finally be brought forth as an official position in the cabinet. Can't speak higher to Abademi and his work ethic. You're so committed to PSG, so committed to supporting every member of board of directors, and I really, really admire you for that. So with that, President King, I don't know if you have anything to say. I don't know if she's still on the Zoom.
Yeah, well, I mean, Abademi, just because of processes and getting things lined up, we're so sorry that we had to wait so long, but we definitely, I myself appreciate all the hard work you've done for this year. You've even took your MCATs this year, so I can't even imagine how much you had on your plate. But we really love you, PSG. Really, really grateful for you. And I'm really happy that we actually got to do the deputy chief of staff position this year. It was talked about in last year's administration, but I believe that it was a very effective thing to do, just given that we all as students have a lot on our plate, and it was able to, that the share of work was able to be done between two students and two students who get along really well. So applause for you.
Thank you, President King. Any other discussion? Yes, Senator Price.
Not to feed a fed horse, but I really want to advocate for Abidemi outside of PSG as well. We have been in BGR together, we took classes together. He is the Purdue student. He is what every student should work to be, and I sincerely am very happy that this is happening. Upset it took so long, but I'm very, very happy to see it.
Thank you, Senator Price. Any other discussion? Seeing none, we'll go ahead and move into a vote. All those in favor, please raise your day placards. Oh yeah, go ahead. Can you walk out, Evan? Sorry. It's been a hot second since we've done an appointment. Alrighty, you can change your mind if you really want. All those in favor? All those opposed, same sign. Any abstentions? Could someone grab him? You guys act like you weren't going to vote that unanimously, okay? Yay! With a unanimous vote, Bill 2178 passes. Congratulations. Do I hear any other new business? Seeing none, we'll go ahead and move on to announcements. Do we hear announcements? Yeah.
So, prior to last Senate, I discussed that me and Shannon had an upcoming meeting with parking and transportation. I would dare say, although the paperwork hasn't been processed, that it was a smashing success. I have been an advocate for dining and culinary now since my freshman year, because I worked there and then I still work there. But now I was a senator, and so this has been really the bridge between dining and culinary and the parking issues we've had, and a way to be able to approach it. So previously, the hours that were required by the university to get a employee parking pass was 30. And for those who haven't heard me on my soapbox, which I frequent, federal law says that international students cannot work more than 20, and Purdue policy regulates that domestic students that are enrolled full-time are advised not to work more than, I think it was 15. So I was really like, what's going on with this? It's a violation of federal law. I'm confused. So now the hour requirement has unofficially been lowered to 15, and then we'll see where it goes from there. So real excited about that. That's the first non-Senate thing that I've been able to accomplish as a senator. And literally shout out to Shannon, because without her and her support and the support of my boss's boss, I'm not sure it would have been able to happen. So a lot of people came together for it, but real exciting.
Congrats, Sydney. That's amazing. That's awesome.
Yay, Sydney. I want to give her, the snap really goes to you, Sydney. You were amazing in that meeting. And the fact that it was only your first time doing a presentation, though it was so small and intimate, you absolutely nailed it. The look on your boss's face, she was so proud of you. I was so proud of you, and I'm so proud of you. And you really set the way in terms of having these parking discussions with Keen. Keen is a great guy, you guys. If you guys have any concerns about this, I think you all are prepared to talk, as Sydney did, in a meeting with Keen, to make some really important changes on campus in regards to parking. So snaps to you, Sydney.
Any other announcements? Yeah, Pro Tem Reynolds.
I have two announcements. So as we all know, the last Senate session is on the 20th. So I need legislation for that by this Sunday so we can go to committee review. And I just want everything to be on time. I want it to be a good set agenda beforehand. And just trying to give everyone enough warning. If it can't be there by Sunday, just let me know and we'll communicate with whatever committee it would go to and we'll figure it out. But I would like a nice, good, full docket for next session. And then also, just for all these senators, make sure that you can come to the next session. It's going to be a good time. If you look ahead and you have an exam, try to get a proxy as soon as possible. I don't want any last minute unexcused absences. Make sure you can be there. It'll be the last time we are together as this group, but then we'll also watch the new senators go in and we'll talk about the good joint legislation that we're going to do on next Wednesday for the Senate Survival Day.
Thank you, Pro Temp Reynolds. Yeah, go ahead.
Echoing what was initially said with UAA, so we're trying to get people to talk about their advisors. If you've had a good experience, please reach out to Julia through the Slack or any one of us on the UAA committee. We really want to say that we appreciate the advisors and all they do, especially during the season when everyone's trying to get classes. So if you have had a good experience and are willing to talk about it, please reach out. It was mentioned, I think 3 more are needed, so, or if you have friends.
I'll do it. I love my advisor. She's amazing. Any other announcements? Go ahead.
So first, I'd just like to thank everybody, all of you who voted for me to be elections director. Thank you so much for giving me this opportunity. It's been fantastic. I never want to do it again, but but it was so much fun. And so thank you. And I'd also like to just congratulate all of you that re-ran, the new senators, all of that. And then if you didn't rerun, there's still an opportunity to be a senator. You just got to talk to your student council or dean of your college. And you can kind of avoid the election process, which is weird to me, but oh well. So again, thank you all, and thanks for a wonderful election season.
Thank you, Brayden. Any other announcements? Just for me, because this is my last full Senate session next year, or next meeting, I kind of pass off the baton. I'm a bit of a sentimental person. And I know it hasn't always been perfect. I've made a lot of mistakes, but you guys have allowed me to learn, you've allowed me to grow, and you've provided me a pretty ample amount of grace that I'll be forever grateful for. So I just wanted to take this time to thank you all. Being the chair of the Senate and being vice president has been the greatest honor, and thank you so much. So with that, thank you. Any other announcements? Seeing that, we'll move on to Senate snaps. I think all of the Senate snaps we just gave count, so we'll just do a big snap right there. And we've got some good snacks today. Any Senate snaps? Yeah.
Senate snaps to Sydney, obviously, what a queen with the parking stuff. And snaps also to Brayden for the day at the state on Monday. That was great. Super awesome. Had a awesome time. So yeah, thank you.
Woo. Any other Senate snaps? Senator Price?
Sorry about my emotional plea during one of those bills. I just want to say I'm not used to people being respectful of the process, including myself. And I just want to give, I know it's not just 50 snaps everyone, but I was just very relaxed. And thank you for that. I live in a fraternity house, so I'm not used to that. Senator is who is, and the others can agree to that, but thank you all. I just really appreciate having a discussion instead of talking over each other. That was really nice, so thank you.
Senator Ferguson?
I want to give Senate snaps to Lynn, Josh, and anyone else who was at the Safe Sex Fair with the LGBTQ Student Alliance. I have the best picture of Lynn and Josh with condom balloons, and I think that it has been the highlight of my Senate experience this semester.
Oh my gosh, that's hilarious. Any other Senate snaps? Yeah. I think I saw Senator Brown. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, just another snap to Brayden. Just, he's alive through the process, so like that's crazy. Also, once again, dinner was provided by Olivia. Thank you again. Fantastic.
And I am taking requests for last Senate session, so, and I'm kind of all ears, so Slack message me. But thank you. Yeah, go ahead.
I know this person isn't a member of the Senate, but I'm going to give a Senate snap to Joe because I'm known for asking relatively difficult questions that are hard to prepare for, and you are the first person that I've been able to ask to in person. Because normally it's through a screen, so they can't see me. But no, we maintained eye contact, and it takes a lot, so I'm proud of you.
Thank you, Senator Sherrill. Thank you, Joe. I'd like to give a Senate snap to our amazing parliamentarian, Nate. Really been through it with me through it all. If you don't know, Nate and I go way back. We've been friends since high school. But you've always, again, shown me grace and really helped me through this process. Yeah, sometimes Robert's rules isn't super fun, but you make it very simple, and I appreciate it. So thank you, Nate. Any other snaps? Okay. Seeing no more announcements of snaps, the chair would recognize a motion to adjourn. Senator Chris?
Madam Chair, I move that we do now adjourn.
Second.
It's been properly moved and seconded to adjourn this meeting. Not amendable, not debatable, requires 2/3 majority vote. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. All those opposed, same sign. Any abstentions? The meeting is now adjourned. Thank you, everybody.